15 biggest mysteries that have been solved. Have you ever wondered what happened to some important historical figures, or if ancient artifacts were as ancient as they seemed? Some of these mysteries are new, and others have been around for so long, you might not have realized they've already been solved. Number 15, Anastasia. We probably didn't even need to say her last name for you to associate it with the popular Russian Grand Duchess of the Romanov dynasty. Anastasia Nikolaevna of Russia was the youngest daughter of Tsar Nicholas II, who was the last sovereign of Imperial Russia. Most people have seen the popular animated movie that came out in the 90s, depicting Anastasia as a long-lost princess who was still alive. And that theory was a popular one during much of the 20th century, with one woman, known as Anna Anderson, claiming to be Anastasia in 1922. However, that claim was debunked in 2007, after more remains were discovered in Russia that matched that of Nicholas II's, and that Anderson's didn't match anyone's of the Romanov family. Number 14. Ceres Mystery Lights. Ceres is a dwarf planet that gained more attention in the astronomy community after bright spots were detected along its surface in 2015. The Dawn spacecraft discovered the bright lights on the planet located on an 80-kilometer or 50-mile crater known as Aquifers. The center of the crater seemed to shine bright, and for a few months is the source of much wonder and debate. Theories about evidence of alien life form, which of course was highly intriguing, were suggested throughout this time. Later that year, it was found that it was merely salt. That doesn't completely rule out aliens, but it doesn't imply anything more either. Number 13. Hobbits of Flores. J.R.R. Tolkien wasn't so far off with the idea of diminutive humans being their own species and living in their own civilization together. The Homo floresians, which is the Flores man, is a species that are also referred to as the Hobbit, and one that is distinct from humans, the Homo sapiens. When the fossils were first discovered, many scientists thought that they were just regular humans that maybe suffered from a disease. Remains of this ancient species were found on the island of Flores in Indonesia. They were discovered in 2003 and were said to be as tall as 3'7" and probably weighed up to 55 pounds, with mostly just parts of skeletons found as well as one whole skull. The findings are said to be dated to about 700,000 years ago. Number 12. The Shroud of Turin. This piece of linen was thought to be incredibly sacred. You can see from the image on the left that there seems to be an impression of a face, with many believing it to be the shroud that covered the face of Jesus of Nazareth upon his burial after being crucified. And if you believe what Western society thinks Jesus probably looked like, then you can't really blame people for believing this claim. However, 3 radiocarbon dating tests done in 1988 seemed to prove otherwise. The results of the test showed that the cloth only dates as far back as the Middle Ages, around the 13th century. The Shroud of Turin is still kept at the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, Italy. Number 11. The Windsor Hum. Windsor refers to the city in Ontario, Canada, where residents have been hearing the strange sound of a hum in the area for years. The strange hum has apparently been plaguing the city, which has a population of over 210,000 people, for a while. Complaints of the annoying and disturbing noise have been going on for the past 7 years, with descriptions of the noise ranging from thunder to a diesel truck to a whole other slew of strange sounds you don't want to be hearing randomly throughout your day. It's said to be more of an odd vibration in the air. One report points to the source being all the way in Detroit, Michigan on Zug Island, where it's said that steelwork in the industrial zone is to blame. Number 10. Sailing stones. It doesn't sound that creepy, but there were some stones, some of which in Death Valley, that seemed to be moving of their own accord. The sailing stones, also called moving rocks or rolling stones, are considered a geological phenomenon. This happens when rocks move, embedding a trail into the dirt. For a while it seemed simply like magic was at work in the deserts where these sailing stones were found, as well as Little Bonnie Claire Playa, Nevada. What actually happens is that large ice sheets that float in an ephemeral winter pond break up on hotter days. The thin ice moves these rocks, resulting in the sailing trails they leave behind. Number 9. Fairy circles. Speaking of natural occurrences that freak people out, that brings us to the fairy circles of the Namib Desert. The phrase fairy circles implies there's something supernatural going on, since no one knew exactly what was causing this sort of thing to happen in Namibia. They are describing the circular patches found in Marienfluss Valley, with sizes that range anywhere with a diameter of 2 to 15 meters. Within the circles, plants are barren, which only adds to the mystery. What in the world is going on? Well, it's not little fairies scorching the earth. There's been a lot of debate to what's happening, with a combination of termites and different types of grasses fighting underground for a spot in the soil, seeming to be to blame. Number 8. Giant eyeball in the sea. Back in 2012, a strange item washed up on the shore of Pompano Beach in Florida. It was later found that this object was actually the eyeball that once belonged to a living organism. It made headlines for about a week, with people trying to guess what animal this huge eyeball the size of a softball came from. The eye was analyzed in labs, and researchers at the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission concluded that the eye probably came from a swordfish, and that a fisherman probably cut it out themselves. Swordfish are actually quite big sea creatures, and can reach up to weights of 1,100 pounds. So it makes sense that their eyes in turn would be that big. Number 7. How the pyramids were built. These ancient pyramids found in Egypt have been around for thousands of years, with the first and largest pyramids at Giza dating to around the 2500s BC. And if the Egyptians weren't equipped with the same kind of technology we have today, how exactly did they do it? This question is the basis for why many people believe aliens were the ones who built the pyramids, or the theory that perhaps dinosaurs, based off ancient writings, were the ones that helped Egyptians build their monuments. And look, it's not like Egyptians weren't without their engineering setbacks. In 2014, by analyzing the ancient drawings concerning the pyramids, it was found that huge teams had put blocks of stone on a sled-like contraption. This, in combination with pouring water on the sand, helped move construction along smoothly and much easier than muscle power alone.
Number 6.
Nazca Lines. For a while, these seemingly artistic formations found in the Nazca region in Peru were the cause of speculation that implied something alien, as in outer space, was going on. The images seemed to be shapes of animals, others were more geometrical in nature. The largest of the images measured to about 1,200 feet long, with the first recorded mention of the lines being in a book written by Pedro Cieza de León, a Spanish conquistador in 1553. So how did these geoglyphs come into existence? The peoples of the Nazca culture were said to have formed these lines with ancient hydraulic systems that were used as aquifers. Seems the explanation of aliens has been foiled yet again.
Number 5.
Crystal skulls. For the sake of preserving the legacy of Indiana Jones, we're just going to forgo any further mention of that movie. Anyways, the crystal in this photo is made of a milky white quartz, or rock crystal, that was at first said to be traced back to pre-Columbian Mesoamerican times. This claim, however, has been proved to be a false one. It all started around the 19th century, when trading in these falsely ancient artifacts was quite popular. A lot of these crystal skulls are on display at museums, with most people knowing they probably weren't made by the ancient peoples of the Americas, since there's no recorded excavation that was said to have discovered such items.
Number 4.
The real King Kong. From the older movies to the newer ones, every generation has experienced at least one of these King Kong movies Hollywood has produced throughout the years. And while a simian animal the size of a building probably doesn't exist, there was actually an ape that once roamed the earth that is said to be the closest thing to the King Kong we're used to seeing on the big screen. The largest ape ever recorded was said to have lived 100,000 years ago and became extinct due to climate change affecting their diet. These huge apes are said to have measured to about 9 feet tall and once inhabited the regions of southern China and Southeast Asia.
Number 3.
Underwater crop circles. Strange etchings into the ocean floor were found under the waters of Japan back in 1995. And, for a long time, no one could explain what was going on. The patterns appeared symmetrical and intricate, meaning that if it wasn't a piece of human machinery that created them, the origin was surely alien, right? Well, no. Actually, it was discovered in 2013 that it was a pufferfish that was behind the odd little motifs. Male pufferfish move their fins in certain patterns as they swim along the ocean floor, usually along their nesting site. What's cuter is that they even decorate their circles to give them a distinct look.
Number 2.
The wow signal. Like Panic at the Disco, that exclamation point is in the middle of the phrase. The wow signal was a narrow-band radio signal that was found to be incredibly strong after it was received in the year 1977 at the Ohio State University's Big Ear Radio Telescope. The signal seemed to have been coming from the direction of the Sagittarius constellation, with many exclaiming this surely must mean aliens. If you've learned anything from this video, you'll realize this simply wasn't so. The wow signal was so named after astronomer Jerry Eman wrote that wow you see in red pen on the printout, since the data ended up just being hydrogen gas left by 2 comets that flew past Earth. That's deflating.
Number 1.
What happened to Richard III? He was once one of the most despised figures in British history, and was immortalized in the eponymous play by William Shakespeare as a limping, deformed, sinister king who schemed his way to being the King of England during the 1400s. Richard III is a well-known historical figure, but not always a well-liked one, and for a long time the location of his remains was unknown to historians. That is until August of 2012. When his bones were found near a city center in Leicester. Researchers figured it was at this location, since it's where Greyfriars Church used to be before the Catholic monasteries were done away with after England dissolved ties with the Vatican. It seems after the king had fallen in battle against Henry VII's men, he had just been under a present-day parking lot the whole time. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Hope you guys liked it. And if you want to see a really crazy video, check out World's Most Dangerous Plants on my channel, Knowledge Feed.